Question number 11. Which work of Francis Bacon explains the new logic or inductive method of reasoning? The options are 1. Apophthegms, 2. The History of Henry VII, 3. Novum Organum, 4. De Augmentis Scientiarum, and the answer is 3. Novum Organum. The Novum Organum, or New Organon, was dropped by Francis Bacon in 1620 as a cool new philosophical manifesto. It aimed to one-up the old-school Aristotelian logic with a fresh system. Bacon was all about using inductive reasoning, dubbed the Baconian method, to really get to the heart of what's going on with different phenomena. He was into making lists to track when stuff like heat shows up, when it doesn't, and how it behaves under different conditions to really nail down what causes what. The cover of his work has this epic image of a ship cruising through the Pillars of Hercules, which is like the old-time boundary between the safe Mediterranean and the wild Atlantic. It's Bacon's way of saying he's pushing past the ancient limits of science to spark a new era of understanding everything from nature to beyond. Francis Bacon, a total frontrunner of the modern scientific method, had this massive plan he called Instauratio Magna, or the Great Instauration. This project was massive, literally aiming to redo the biblical creation narrative. He envisioned systematically taking back mankind's control over nature in 6 stages, just like the 6 days of creation, which is super important for the UGC NET English exam because it highlights his methodical approach to revolutionizing human thought and control over nature. Then, just like the good book says, there's a chill day of rest and reflection after all that work. His blueprint for shaking up how we get our knowledge included a bunch of parts. Partitions of the sciences for organizing what we know. The new method, that's the Novum Organum, which brought in a new logic, natural history to stack up all the observational data. The ladder of the intellect to climb through understanding levels. Anticipations of the second philosophy for a sneak peek at upcoming discoveries. And second philosophy, or active science, which is all about using what we know for real-world stuff. This whole setup was Bacon's way of laying down the tracks for science to steam ahead into new territories of knowledge. Question number 12. All happy families are alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. It is the opening line of the novel 1. Anna Karenina, 2. War and Peace, 3. 1984, 4. Jane Eyre, and the answer is 1. Anna Karenina. Opening lines. The Anna Karenina principle suggests that failing in just one area can doom an entire endeavor. A successful effort by this principle is one without any shortcomings. This concept is named after Leo Tolstoy's 1877 novel Anna Karenina, which opens with, "All happy families are alike. Each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." This means that while happiness in families comes from similar traits, unhappiness can stem from various different issues. This idea is widely applicable across many fields. In statistics, for example, the Anna Karenina principle describes how a dataset may fail a null hypothesis in numerous ways, but only meet it perfectly in one specific way. 1984 by George Orwell. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind, slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansions, though not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy is set during the Napoleonic Wars and blends narrative with discussions on history and philosophy. Initially serialized in 1865, the final comprehensive version came out in 1869. The book starts in 1805, diving right into a discussion about Napoleon's movements. Well, Prince, so Genoa and Lucca are now just family estates of the Buonapartes. Other famous opening lines. Ulysses by James Joyce. Stately plump Buck Mulligan came from the stairhead, bearing a bowl of lather on which a mirror and a razor lay crossed. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. There was no possibility of taking a walk that day. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, but that ain't no matter. The Luck of the Bodkins by P.G. Wodehouse. Into the face of the young man who sat on the terrace of the Hotel Magnifique at Cannes there had crept a look of furtive shame, the shifty, hangdog look which announces that an Englishman is about to talk French. Earthly Powers by Anthony Burgess. It was the afternoon of my 81st birthday, and I was in bed with my catamite when Ali announced that the Archbishop had come to see me. I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith. I write this sitting in the kitchen sink. The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. Now let's move to question 13. Which of the following novels of Thomas Hardy was first published in an abridged form as Hart's Insurgent? 1. The Mayor of Casterbridge. 2. Jude the Obscure. 3. Far from the Madding Crowd. 4. The Return of the Native. Here is the answer. 2. Jude the Obscure. Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy first hit the shelves in bits as Hart's Insurgent in Harper's New Monthly around 1894 to 95, but got its full book debut in 1895. This abridged early version is a key aspect for UGC NET English as it shows how the work evolved. The Mayor of Casterbridge, crafted by Thomas Hardy and published in 1886 by Smith, Elder & Co., takes us to the fictional Wessex based on Dorchester, Dorset. It dives into the tumultuous life of a man haunted by a youthful mistake. This setting in Wessex is especially important for UGC NET English, as it underscores Hardy's use of a consistent and detailed setting across his works. Far from the Madding Crowd, Hardy's big breakthrough, first came out anonymously in the Cornhill magazine in 1874, then under his own name later that same year. The novel spins the tale of Bathsheba Everdeen and her 3 very different suitors, all set against the lush backdrop of the English countryside. This setting and character dynamic are crucial for UGC NET English, highlighting Hardy's exploration of romantic complexities and rural life. The Return of the Native was published in 1878 in Belgravia magazine and is set on the moody Egdon Heath, a stark reflection of Wessex's moorlands. The story tracks Clem Yeobright's journey back from Paris to his roots, where he aims to lift up his community through education. This return and his goals are pivotal, illustrating Hardy's themes of ambition, nature, and the struggle to belong, all of which are significant discussions in UGC NET English contexts. Question number 14. What among the following is not true about Anna Karenina? The given options are: 1. The novel was published in 1872. 2. The novel is written in 8 parts. 3. It tells the story of 2 major characters, Anna and Konstantin Levin. 4. The novel is revolutionary in its treatment of women. Here is the answer. 1. The novel was published in 1872. Anna Karenina, crafted by Leo Tolstoy and rolled out from 1875 to 1877, really stands out in the world of literature and is a hot topic in UGC NET English exams. They've even tossed 3 questions about it into this year's test. This novel dives deep into the life of Anna, who finds herself in a steamy affair with Count Vronsky despite being married to Alexei Karenin. Tolstoy doesn't just tell a love story. He throws us into the midst of societal judgments, personal dilemmas, and the harsh consequences of stepping outside marital boundaries. The book is chunky, spread over 8 parts and 239 chapters, and kicks off with a line that's quoted far and wide. Happy families are all alike. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. This gem of a sentence sets the stage for exploring the unique troubles that brew beneath the surface of unhappy homes, making it a perfect example of how personal chaos unfolds in distinct, often dramatic ways. A quick FYI, Tolstoy's deep dive into the lives of Anna, her affair, and other characters like Kitty and Levin, who are navigating their own love stories, really paints a picture of the complexities of relationships and societal expectations. The book's theme, hinted at in its epigraph, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay," borrowed from Romans 12:19, loops back to this idea of moral reckoning and the heavy prices paid for personal choices. It's a must-read for anyone looking to get a grip on classic literature that tackles heavy, real-life issues. Question number 15. I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. I am an unattractive man. I think my liver is diseased. These are the opening lines of 1. Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Love in the Time of Cholera. 2. Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. 3. Albert Camus' The Plague. 4. Daniel Defoe's A Journal of the Plague Year. Here is the answer. 2. Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. Love in the Time of Cholera, a novel by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, hit the shelves in 1985 as El Amor en los Tiempos del Cólera. Set from the late 1870s to the early 1930s in a South American community hit by wars and cholera, the story digs into love, aging, and death. It centers on two lovers, artistic Florentino Ariza and wealthy Fermina Daza, who reunite after decades apart. This tale is pivotal for UGC NET English, highlighting the contrast between their enduring love and the decay around them. Notes from the Underground is a novella by Fyodor Dostoevsky, first published in Russian in 1864 as Zapiski iz Podpolya. It's packed with some pretty dark views on humanity and lays the groundwork for the big themes like morality and society that Dostoevsky explores in his later novels. The Plague, penned by Algerian-born French author Albert Camus and released in 1947 as La Peste, is an allegorical tale about a town's fight against an epidemic. This novel is crucial for UGC NET English for its deep dive into themes of human dignity and brotherhood amid crises. A Journal of the Plague Year by Daniel Defoe, published in 1722, offers a narrative of London's Great Plague of 1664-65. Written as an account by H.F., who claims to have witnessed the devastation, it's a blend of actual history and Defoe's creative reconstruction. This work is significant in UGC NET English for its historical fictional insights into one of London's direst times. Question number 16. A portmanteau is 1. A word which sounds the same but has different meanings. 2. A word that results from blending two or more words or part of words. 3. Creation of new words without reference to the existing morphological resources. 4. Copying a word that originally belonged to one language into another language. And the answer is 2. A word that results from blending two or more words or part of words. So a blend, or what some folks like to call a lexical blend or portmanteau, is all about mashing up two words to make a new one. It's like taking the sounds and meanings from both and mixing them into something fresh and snappy. For example, take smog, which comes from smashing together smoke and fog, or motel, which blends motor from motorist and hotel. These blends aren't just random. They're made on purpose to give us cool, new words that pack the punch of both their parents. The little bits of the original words that make it into the blend, those are called splinters. Portmanteaus are super handy in everyday language, adding a creative twist to our vocab and helping us describe new ideas or things in a fun way. Plus, they're a neat way to spice up English with some innovative wordplay. Question number 17. How many major forms of drama have been described by Bharata in his Manual of Dramaturgy? 1, 7, 2, 3, 4, 4, 10. Here's the answer. 4, 10. The NATA Shastra is an ancient Sanskrit treasure, whipped up sometime between 200 BCE and 500 CE, and it's all about the art of performance. Penned by the sage Bharata, this hefty guide dives into everything from how to write a play to the nuts and bolts of putting it on stage, covering acting, dance, music, and even the director's role. It's a mega influence in Indian arts, touching everything from classical dance to drama, and is a staple in UGC NET English Studies because of its deep cultural impact. This text doesn't just entertain, it's about uplifting the audience to a new level of awareness through what's called the rasa theory. Plus, it's got some heavyweight commentaries, like the 10th century Abhinava Bharati by Abhinavagupta, making it a solid rock in the foundation of classical Indian philosophy. Now, diving into the drama itself, the NATA Shastra outlines 10 types of drama and the stages of a play, called avasthas. Prarambha, the kickoff where everyone's gunning for their goals. Prayatna, all about the hustle before any real results. Prapti-samba, when hope kicks in as success seems possible. Nyataphala Prapti, getting that vibe that victory's pretty much certain. Phala Yoga, nailing those goals successfully. Bija, the seed from which the whole story grows. Bindu, nurturing that seed to keep the story going. A side plot that's a whole story on its own. Prari, little subplots that spice up the main story. Karya, wrapping it all up in the grand finale. As for acting or abhinaya, it's broken down into 4 cool tools. Angika, body language speaks volumes here. Vachika, it's all about delivering those lines. Aharya, dressing the part with costumes and bling. Sattvika, the real deep stuff like tears or goosebumps that shows you're feeling it. All these elements make the NATA Shastra a goldmine for anyone studying or teaching the UGC NET English, offering insights into the complexities of traditional Indian performance arts. Question number 18. Who among the following is the earliest available Indian dramatist? 1. Bhavabhuti, 2. Kalidas, 3. Basa or Rajashekhar. And the answer is 3. Basa. Let's take a fun dive into the lives of some of the rock stars of ancient Sanskrit drama and literature. First up, we've got Basa. This guy is like the OG of Sanskrit playwrights, predating even the famous Kalidasa. He was around in the 1st century BCE during the late Mauryan period. 13 of his plays have been attributed to him, thought to be from the 1st or 2nd century CE. These plays were MIA for centuries, until 1913 when Ganapati Shastri stumbled upon them. Basa got some serious shout-outs in later works like the Kavyamamamsa, and even Kalidasa tipped his hat to him in his first play, Malavikagnimitram. Moving on to Kalidasa, this guy was the Shakespeare of ancient India, thriving in the 4th to 5th century CE during the Gupta era. He wrote a bunch, 3 plays, 2 epic poems, and a couple of shorter poems. His stuff digs deep into Hindu Puranas and philosophy, giving us a sneak peek into his time's vibes. Even though there's some mystery around his life, his works are like a treasure chest of insights into the cultural ethos of his era. Next, we have Bhavabhuti from the 8th century. Hailing from Padmapura in Vidarbha, this scholar is often put on a pedestal right next to Kalidasa. Famous for his play Uttarar Ramakarita, Bhavabhuti is known as the poet of Karun Rasa. He came from a brainy Deshasta Brahmin family and penned his plays by the scenic Yamuna River at Kalpi. Last but not least, meet Rajashekhara, a 10th century talent who rocked the courts of the Gurjara Pratiharas. Not only did he pen poems in both Maharashtri Prakrit and Sanskrit, but he also threw down some serious drama and literary critique. His major work, the Kavyamamamsa, is basically a how-to guide for poets. And then there's his play Karpura Manjari, written to charm his wife, Avanti Sundari. His works reflect a really personal touch, showcasing the collaborative spirit that spiced up ancient Indian literary culture. So there you have it, a quick tour through the lives and legacies of some of the titans of Sanskrit literature. Question number 19. Who of the following was the immediate predecessor of the drama proper? 1. The interlude, 2. The morality play, 3. The miracle play, 4. The liturgical play, and the answer is 1. The interlude. So the interlude was this cool type of medieval drama that popped up as a quick, usually funny act during the breaks of longer plays or at fancy feasts. These skits were all about poking fun at society and dishing out moral lessons, but in a way that was super easy to digest. For example, John Heywood's The Play of the Weather from 1533 cracked jokes about the crazy English weather, using it as a fun way to talk about life's unpredictability, mixing entertainment with a bit of moral talk. The morality play. These plays were all the rage in medieval and early Tudor times, using characters that stood for various virtues and vices to teach the audience some important life lessons. Everyman is a classic example where you've got this guy literally representing every person, struggling through life, trying to figure out death and moral issues, emphasizing the good stuff like doing righteous deeds and repenting for the bad ones as a ticket to salvation. It really highlights how drama back then was used to boost moral and spiritual growth. The miracle play. Miracle plays were these epic performances about saints or the Virgin Mary, packed with faith, miracles, and heavenly interventions. Super popular across medieval Europe, especially during religious festivals, these plays were a big deal for spreading Christianity to everyday folks. The play of St. Catherine is one where they show off how St. Catherine of Alexandria kept her faith and pulled off some miracles before her martyrdom. It was both a spiritual lesson and entertainment rolled into one. The liturgical play. These were the OG religious dramas from the Middle Ages, tied right into church services like the Mass. They started out to make biblical stories and the lives of saints a bit more relatable to the people showing up at church. One of the oldest tricks in the book was the Quem Quaeritis trope, used during Easter to play out the scene where Christ is found to have risen. This was a big moment in religious drama, merging actual worship with some theatrical flair to really bring the stories home to the audience. Question number 20. Which of the following qualities of heroic treatment was not needed in the plays of the University Wits? 1. Splendid descriptions. 2. Long swelling speeches. 3. The handling of violent incidents and emotions. 4. Lives of common figures. Here is the answer. 4. Lives of common figures. The plays churned out by the University Wits were all about heroic vibes, diving deep into the lives of epic figures with splashy descriptions, lengthy speeches, and loads of drama and action. These guys knew exactly what the Elizabethan crowd dug. Big, bold stories over everyday yawns. So, everyday folks and their ordinary lives, not really on the Wits' radar. Their stuff was meant to dazzle and inspire, not mirror the daily grind. That's why Lives of Common Figures isn't what you'd find in their plays. It just didn't fit their style. The University Wits, a squad of brainy, late 16th century dramatists from Oxford or Cambridge, totally shook up Elizabethan theater with their fresh, secular scripts. Think big names like Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, and Thomas Nash. These guys stepped into the theater scene because there were way too many scholars and not enough jobs. They loved cranking out stories packed with grand themes, over-the-top descriptions, epic monologues, and intense emotions, all delivered in snazzy blank verse. While tragedy was their go-to, they dabbled in comedy too, though it was kind of rough around the edges, except for Lyly, who was the comedy king among them. Here's a rundown of what made the University Wits plays stand out. They loved their heroes and historical bigwigs. They weren't shy about piling on the lavish details. They rocked at delivering powerful, wordy speeches. Emotions and drama were turned up to 11. Blank verse was their jam, giving them loads of flexibility. Tragedy was the main event, with deep, serious themes. Comedy wasn't their strong suit and tended to be a bit raw. Sometimes they went overboard with the drama, tipping into bombast. Marlowe was pretty much the star of their stylistic show. They were pioneers in making a living off writing secular plays for the Elizabethan peeps.